All right. So, topic of today's video is what is fasting and what are the benefits from fasting? Obviously, you guys can see the title of the video. It's called Fasting with a Busy Life. So, I'm kind of going to be speaking on my process of fasting while still having to go to work and still having to carry out my daily life duties, right? And so, first and foremost, what is fasting? Fasting, in simple terms, is just abstaining from food and water for a certain amount of days. But as believers, fasting is starving your flesh, essentially. And I have a few notes here that I'll share with you guys today. And what I wrote here is fasting is when you starve your flesh. You do this by abstaining from food and water. And more commonly today, more people tend to fast from like your phone or social media or apps or from people or from socializing, right? It's mainly just to fast from the distractions of the world. But when I fast, I just try to abstain from anything that pleases my flesh. And so, biblically, there are a few ways that you could go on a fast, with the most common being, I think, the dry fast. Um, but in my process of fasting, I kind of just didn't, I just had no phone. I didn't eat no food for 12 hours and I drank water only like every hour, right? And so, a lot of other people who are like better at fasting than me, like I'm a beginner in fasting. And I used to always say I'm gonna fast for 3 days, and then I tried to do like a whole 3 days, and it was impossible. And so I changed it to something a doable type of thing for me. So I did 3 days for 12 hours of just fasting from the things that I spoke on earlier. I think it was I had no phone, I had no food, and I really didn't socialize a lot. I was just fasting from the distractions of everything. Anything that pleased my flesh, I had to fast from it. But for the first 2 days, I did go to work. I really didn't talk to many people, and I work an overnight shift. And so, since I do work overnights, like it only takes us like 2 hours to get what we need done in a 10-hour shift. And so, it was really hard not to go on my phone. It was really hard not to like listen to music while I do my job. But since I was fasting, I had to abstain from it. I had to starve my flesh. I couldn't please my flesh. That's what you do when you go on a fast. And so instead of doing that, I just did my job. And in my head the whole time I was praying. And then once we did finish our job, I opened up my journal and I just wrote down prayers for the rest of the remainder of the time until it was time to go home. And when I finally did go home, pray some more, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's the purpose. That's the whole point of fasting. You want to get closer to God. So when you do fast, you want to abstain from something. You want to abstain from your flesh. You want to starve your flesh. And then while you are doing that, you want to stay in God's presence. You want to pray as much as possible while you are on a fast. You want to welcome in God. You want to be in God's presence for as long as possible. But yeah, for the first 2 days of working, that's kind of what I did. I stayed away from my phone, no eating, no barely drinking water, and no phone until 12 hours. And then on my last day, which is today, my last day of fasting, the only thing that changed from today is that I just had more time to pray to God and stuff. There's a fly in my room somewhere. I can't wait till I get it, man. But yeah, on my last day, the only thing that changed was I just had more time to pray with God, and it wasn't no people. So I was kind of just fasting from socializing, fast from people as well, which I do that every day if I'm being honest. But yeah, I go on to say when 3 a.m. came, I commanded my morning. And once I got home, I prayed more until my fast finally ended at 12 p.m. So from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. was my fasting times. And on my last day, the final day, the only thing that changed was I had more time to pray with God. So that's essentially what is fasting. It's abstaining from something, starving your flesh, and while you are fasting, you're just praying and getting in God's presence. So now we're going to move on into the benefits of fasting, which a lot of this is just my personal benefits, but a lot of them are also general benefits. Like these are benefits that you will get to as well. And so when you fast, you are building spiritual strength. And as you abstain from drinking or eating or your phone, you are rejecting the lust of your flesh. This is important because our flesh wages war against our spirit. Our flesh and our spirits are at war with each other. So when you reject your flesh, you're living more for your spirit, which is what God wants for you. Like, your flesh is evil. Your flesh wants you to sin. Your flesh pulls you closer to the world. So when you starve your flesh, it's a good thing because you're building that spiritual discipline. You're building that spiritual clarity, and you can listen to your spirit more. These are the benefits, by the way. Like, your direction, your plan, and your purpose becomes more clear to you because your mind is not clouded by the distractions of the world, and you can furthermore tap into like your spiritual side, and like your spirit, it will lead you and guide you, but it can't do that if you're constantly at war with your flesh. And so when you more inside the spirit, it's more easier for your purpose to be like presented to you, right? It's more easier for you to get that clarity and know what your purpose is. So when you fast, your purpose will become more clear to you, and you become more sensible to the spirit. You are rejecting the lust of your flesh and withheld from pleasuring your flesh, right? Some other benefits are, well, I go on to write what I just said. Our flesh wars against our spirit, and when you starve your flesh, this pleases God and strengthens your spirit. You gain clarity and more clear purpose and a sense of direction in your life. Also, fasting can open up doors in your life. When you abstain from your flesh, when you come out of your fast, for me, for example, there's certain things that I completely separated from coming out of the fast. So before, I used to like fleshly desires, right? I used to listen to secular music, and now that I'm coming out of this fast, I can finally say that I put secular music behind me, put a few idols behind me, which was women. It's something like, this is another good thing for fasting. Like, you can fast from idols, putting something over God, or something that was once more important, like the video game or something. People my age play games a lot. People older than me, man, it's crazy. I be going to work and people be like 50 and they be playing video games and stuff, which is like, it's fun to play, but man, I didn't know it was that serious. But anything that you put idol over God, right? So coming out of the fast, you can drop a video game or social media or secular music or a woman, anything that you hold idol over God. Coming out of that fast, you drop those things, and that's good because it opens more doors. Because sometimes these things close doors to our blessings. Being distracted from God, well, it will obviously close doors because you're not listening to what God is trying to tell you for your next plan or purpose for your life, or you're not being obedient to what He's telling you because you're constantly distracted by your flesh. And so, you doors are going to be open in your life because you have more time to let God in. You have less time for the world, and you have more time for God. And the sins of worldly endeavors of fasting has completely made me abstain from basically just, I don't know what that last part was that I wrote, but yeah, I completely abstained from certain things, and they're like, right, well, that will conclude today's video. My phone is dying, so I gotta close the video out pretty fast. But yeah, that's the end of the video. What is fasting and the benefits that you gain from fasting? If you have a very busy life, then I think you should go on like 3 days for 12 hours. You should go 3 days for 12 hours, abstain from something, take something that you once held idle, take something that you can't go without, that you always thought that you can't go without, and exclude it from your day. Losing, if you lose something that you never imagined losing, God can give you something that you never imagined having. And so try to take something away from your life, take a break from it, and then you might actually not end up separating from it completely. It could be music, could be women, it could be anything. But yeah, end of the video. Till next time. Peace.